John Mercer straightened his tie as he waited outside the massive doors to the Galactic Council chambers. After 20 years as a diplomat, this was the moment his career had led to. First contact had happened just 6 months ago when the alien ship landed in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Now John stood as humanity's chosen representative to plea for Earth's acceptance into the galactic community. "They're ready for you now," said a tall, blue-skinned alien with 4 arms. John nodded and took a deep breath. He walked through the doors into a vast circular room. Hundreds of different alien species sat in rising tiers around a central platform. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that John's mind struggled to make sense of their forms. He stepped onto the platform, which rose up so everyone could see him. The light was bright, and John felt very small. "I present to you John, Mercer of Earth," announced a voice that seemed to come from everywhere at once. "He speaks for the human species in their request to join the Galactic Council." John cleared his throat. "Thank you for this honor. Humanity is young compared to many of your civilizations, but we are eager to learn and contribute. We have much to offer: our art, our science, our unique perspective. We ask only for the chance to grow alongside you as members of this great council." A tall, gray-skinned alien with a head that split into 3 parts stood up. This was Ambassador Zillar of the Vexari, one of the oldest species in the galaxy. "We have studied your history, human," Zillar said. His voice was cold. "In just the last 100 years, you have fought 2 world wars. You have split the atom and immediately used it as a weapon. You built computers and then used them to create better ways to kill each other." John had prepared for this. "Yes, our past has darkness, but we have learned from it. We haven't had a global conflict in over a century. We've united our planet under shared goals of peace and progress." Another alien, covered in short green fur, spoke up. "Yet your military spending remains higher than your spending on medicine or education. You prepare for war even in times of peace. That's not fair," John argued. We have also noted," interrupted a floating cloud of gas contained in a transparent suit, "that your technological progress is concerning. You advanced from primitive flight to space travel in less than 70 years. Most species take 300 years to make such progress." John felt sweat forming on his forehead. This wasn't going as planned. "Our quick advancement shows our potential. Think of what we could accomplish with your guidance." The council members began talking among themselves. John couldn't understand most of what they said, as his translator only worked for the main speakers. After what felt like an hour, the Vexari representative spoke again. "The council has concerns. Humanity is unpredictable, violent, and advances too quickly. We have seen species like yours before. They spread too fast, consume too much, and eventually threaten the balance. That's not who we are," John insisted. "Please, give us a chance to prove ourselves." "We will now vote," announced the voice from everywhere. John watched in horror as one by one, lights turned red across the chamber. Only a small section of green lights showed any support for Earth. The Vexari stood again. "The Council has decided. Humanity is deemed too dangerous for full integration at this time. You are hereby quarantined to your solar system. You will not be permitted to develop faster than light travel. You will not be permitted to establish colonies beyond your system. Any violation of these terms will result in immediate sanction." John felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. "For how long?" "Until you prove yourselves worthy. Perhaps in 1,000 years we will reconsider." 1,000 years? John couldn't believe what he was hearing. "You're condemning us to isolation for a millennium based on a history we've already moved beyond?" "The decision is final," said the Vexari. "You will be escorted back to your ship and returned to Earth. Council monitors will be placed at the edges of your solar system to ensure compliance." John wanted to argue more, but 2 guards appeared at his sides. He had no choice but to leave. 3 days later, John's ship landed back on Earth. News of the Council's decision had already reached home through the communication channels they'd established. The world was in chaos at a special United Nations meeting in New York. John delivered his report to a room full of grim-faced world leaders. They fear us, he concluded, not for what we've done, but for what they think we might become. The Secretary General shook her head. So we're prisoners in our own solar system. What about the technology they promised to share? Asked the President of the African Union. Withdrawn, John said. They'll only give us basic medical knowledge. Nothing that might help us advance our space capabilities. In the back of the room, a young woman named Susan Clark listened carefully. As one of Earth's top engineers, she had been invited to hear the report firsthand. While the politicians argued, Susan's mind was already working on a problem. Later that night in her lab at MIT, Susan stared at equations on her computer screen. Her assistant, Gary Miller, brought her a cup of coffee. You should get some sleep, he said. Susan shook her head. The aliens think it will take us centuries to develop FTL travel on our own, but they don't understand how humans work. When someone tells us we can't do something, it just makes us try harder. Gary looked at her screen. Is that what I think it is? It's the start of it, Susan said. They showed us just enough of their tech to give me ideas. They think they're containing us, but they've actually given me the key. 1 month later, Susan stood in a secret underground facility with John and several world leaders. They looked through a thick glass window at a small metal device glowing with blue energy. It works? Asked the U.S. President. It's just a prototype, Susan said. But yes, the math checks out. We can build engines that will take us not just beyond our solar system, but to the stars, and the Council will never see it coming. John looked at the device, then at the world leaders. So what do we do? If we break their quarantine, they might destroy us. The room was quiet for a long moment. Then the Chinese premier spoke. Throughout history, when faced with walls, humanity has done one of two things. We either accept the boundaries set for us, or we break through them. Finished. The U.S. President. The vote was unanimous. Earth would not accept its prison. In secret labs around the world, work began on a fleet of ships that would carry humanity to the stars, whether the Galactic Council approved or not. John looked out the window at the night sky. Somewhere up there, alien eyes were watching, thinking. They had humanity safely caged. They were about to learn a painful lesson about the human spirit. They should have killed us when they had the chance, he whispered to himself. 5 years passed since the Galactic Council banished humanity to its solar system. 5 years of secret work, hidden factories on Mars and the Moon, and quiet preparation. Alex Winters stood on the bridge of the colony ship Defiance, running his hand along the smooth metal of the captain's chair. At 42, the former Navy SEAL had never expected to command a spaceship, let alone one designed to escape alien detection. Final systems check complete, Captain, said Kyle Harper, the ship's engineer. Kyle's fingers danced across 3 screens at once. At just 28, he was the best systems expert Earth had to offer. All crew accounted for, reported Patricia Mendez, looking up from her station. Patricia was a xenobiologist, one of the few humans who had actually studied alien life forms before the Council cut off access. All 300 colonists are in cryosleep, Alex nodded. And the other ships? The Liberty, Independence, and New Horizon are all reporting ready status, said his communications officer. Alex took a deep breath. This mission had been planned for years. 4 ships would attempt to break through the Council blockade and scatter in different directions. They carried humanity's best and brightest, along with seeds, embryos, and the knowledge needed to start. Over. Message from Earth Command, said the communications officer. They say Council patrols are shifting. We have a small window in Sector 7. It's now or never. Alex sat in his chair. Tell all ships, launch in 60 seconds. Set course for Sector 7. Then prepare for immediate jump to FTL once we clear the blockade. Across the solar system, hidden launchers powered up. The ships rose silently, their hulls coated with materials that absorbed scanning waves rather than reflecting them back. For 20 minutes, all seemed to go as planned. The ships accelerated toward the edge of the solar system, aiming for a gap between patrol routes. Then alarms blared across the bridge. Council ships detected, Kyle shouted. They weren't supposed to be here. On the main screen, 3 alien vessels appeared, moving to intercept. They were sleek and predatory, clearly warships. "They've spotted us," Patricia said, her voice tight. "They're charging weapons." Alex gripped the arms of his chair. "All ships, evasive maneuvers. Prepare to jump as soon as you're clear." The Defiance shuddered as engines pushed to maximum. The ship was big and not built for agility. "They're hailing us," said the communications officer. Alex nodded. "Put them through." A Vexari face appeared on screen, its 3-part head moving in a way that humans found disturbing. "Human vessels, you are in violation of Council quarantine. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded." Alex stood. "This is Captain Alex Winters. We are peaceful colonists seeking only to exercise our right to travel. We mean no harm to the Council." "Your rights were limited by Council decree," the Vexari said. "This is your final warning. Stop your engines or we will fire." Alex cut the transmission. "All ships execute emergency pattern Delta. Jump as soon as you can." The 4 human ships suddenly split apart, each heading in a different direction. The Council vessels hesitated, then divided to pursue. "2 on our tail," Kyle reported. "They're faster than us." The Defiance rocked as energy weapons struck its shields. "Shields at 60%, Patricia called out. "We can't take much more." Alex watched the distance counter. They needed to be clear of the solar system's gravitational influence before they could jump to FTL. "Divert power from non-essential systems to the engines," he ordered, "and prepare a little surprise for our friends." Kyle grinned and typed rapidly. Moments later, the Defiance released a cloud of small drones. "What are those?" Patricia asked. "Susan Clark's other invention," Alex said. "They create false engine signatures. Should confuse their targeting systems." The plan worked, briefly. The Council ships wasted precious shots on the drones. But soon they adjusted and resumed their attack on the Defiance. "Shields at 30%, Patricia reported. "Hull breach on Deck 3, emergency systems responding." "Distance to jump. Point?" Alex asked. 20 seconds, Kyle said. The ship shook violently. Sparks flew from a nearby console. "Shields failing," Patricia shouted. 10 seconds to jump point, Kyle counted down. Alex watched as the Council ships closed in, weapons charging for another volley. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Jump. The stars stretched into lines, then vanished. The Defiance lurched forward as if pulled by an invisible hand, and suddenly they were traveling faster than light. Alex let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "Damage report." "Hull breaches on decks 3 and 5, contained by emergency shields," Patricia said. 12 injured, no fatalities, main power at 70%. "The other ships?" Alex asked. The communications officer worked his console. "Liberty and Independence made the jump. No signal from New Horizon." A heavy silence fell over the bridge. New Horizon carried over 300 people. "Keep trying to contact them," Alex said quietly. "They might have jumped on a different vector." Hours passed. The Defiance continued at FTL speed, heading toward a star system they had selected years ago based on old astronomical data. There was still no word from the New Horizon. 2 days later, as the crew settled into their journey, the sensors detected something unusual. "Captain, I'm picking up a ship," Kyle said. "It's not one of ours, and it's not Council design either." Alex frowned. "Hostile?" "Not yet. They're keeping pace with us in FTL, about half a light minute away." "I didn't think that was possible." "Drop us out of FTL," Alex ordered. "Let's see what they do." The Defiance returned to normal space near a small rocky planet. The mysterious ship followed, visible now as a cluster of interconnected spheres. "They're hailing us," the communications officer said, sounding surprised. Alex straightened his uniform. On screen, the image that appeared showed a being unlike any they had seen before. It had a sleek, almost feline body covered in short white fur, with large eyes set in a triangular face. "Greetings, humans," the alien said in perfect English. "I am Thelen of the Nirathi. We have been watching your escape with great interest." Alex tensed. How do you know our language? We have been monitoring council communications. We know they banished you, as they once banished us. Patricia stepped forward. You're exiles too? Thelen nodded, a surprisingly human gesture. For 3 generations we have wandered beyond council space. They feared our ability to adapt their technology, just as they fear you. Alex and Patricia exchanged looks. What do you want from us? Alex asked. To offer friendship, Thelen said. There are others like us, species pushed aside by the council's fear. Together we might find strength where they expected us to find only isolation. Patricia leaned close to Alex. This could be exactly what we need. Their knowledge of space beyond council territory could be invaluable. Alex considered this, then nodded. Thelen of the Nirathi, we would be honored to learn from you. Perhaps together we can build something new out here, something better than what the council offers. Thelen's mouth curved in what might have been a smile. Then let us begin. As the human and Nirathi ships moved into orbit around the small planet, Alex looked out at the stars. They had escaped, but this was just the beginning. Somewhere out there, other human ships were finding their own paths. Somewhere, humanity was taking its first real steps into the galaxy. The exile had begun, but so had humanity's real journey. 20 years had passed since the human ships escaped Earth. What began as 4 desperate vessels fleeing the Council had grown into something much greater. Olivia Carter stood at the window of her office, looking out over the sprawling city of Nova Terra. As governor of the largest human settlement, she had watched it grow from a collection of prefab shelters to a thriving metropolis of 50,000 people, humans and aliens living side by side. She smiled as she watched a group of Nirathi children playing with human kids in the Central Park. Their white fur stood out against the green grass as they chased each other around trees that had been carefully grown from earth seeds. Governor, the council is waiting, said her assistant from the doorway. Olivia nodded and turned away from the window. At 48, she had spent half her life on this planet. She'd arrived as a young agricultural specialist and risen to leadership through hard work and a talent for bringing people together. The meeting room was filled with representatives from the various colonies that made up what they now called the Fringe, the vast region beyond council space. Some attended in person while others appeared as holograms, their images flickering slightly with the delay of interstellar communication. The council has found another of our settlements, Olivia announced without preamble. A murmur ran through the room. Harmony Colony. They sent 3 warships. How bad? Asked the representative from New Hope, a colony established by the Liberty during the original escape. Olivia brought up a video on the main screen. It showed a small settlement under attack, energy weapons raining down from orbit. Then, surprisingly, the colonists responded with their own weapons, mining lasers repurposed as defense systems. This was taken 2 weeks ago, Olivia said. Frank Dawson, the colony leader, managed to send this before communications were cut off. The room watched as the colonists mounted an unexpectedly strong defense. The council ships weren't prepared for resistance. One of them took heavy damage and withdrew from orbit. They fought back? Someone asked in disbelief. And effectively, Olivia confirmed. The mining equipment they use on Harmony was modified with Karathi technology. She nodded toward a tall, insectoid alien sitting at the table. The Karathi had joined the Fringe Alliance 5 years ago after their own conflict with the Council. Did they survive? Asked another representative. Olivia nodded. We received a message yesterday. The Council ships retreated after the colonists damaged one of them. They didn't expect humans to have weapons that could harm their ships. They'll be back, said the Nirathi ambassador Kelvin. He was Thelen's son, born after the first contact with humans. He had taken a human name as many Nirathi now did. And with more ships. Exactly, Olivia said, which is why I've called this meeting. For 20 years we've been building our colonies, developing our technology, and making new allies. We've created something wonderful here in the Fringe. A place where different species work together instead of fearing each other. But the Council won't let us live in peace forever. She looked around the room. We need to formalize our alliance, not just humans and Nirathi, but all the species that have joined us in the fringe. We need a unified defense system, shared technology, and a governing structure. The silicon-based Lumen representative glowed more brightly, their way of showing agreement. The Council fears what it cannot control. Alone, each of our species was vulnerable. Together, we may have the strength to defend our freedom. Discussion broke out across the room. Some argued against provoking the Council, while others insisted that a show of strength was the only language the Council would understand. "We're not looking for war," Olivia said firmly, "but we need to be prepared to defend ourselves. The attack on Harmony Colony proves the Council still sees us as a threat to be eliminated." Hours later, after much debate, a vote was called. The result was nearly unanimous. "Then it's decided," Olivia announced. "From this day forward, our scattered colonies and peoples will be united as the Fringe Alliance. Our first priority will be a shared defense network, followed by improved communication systems between all our worlds." As the meeting concluded, Olivia returned to her office. Her assistant handed her a message that had just arrived. "It's from Earth," he said. Olivia's heart beat faster. Contact with Earth was rare and dangerous. The Council monitored the solar system closely. The message was brief. "The door is closing. More ships coming soon. This may be the last chance." She understood immediately. Despite the quarantine, Earth had never stopped building ships. Some had escaped over the years, finding their way to the fringe colonies, but the message suggested the Council was tightening its grip. Olivia called an emergency meeting with her closest advisors. They needed to prepare for an influx of refugees from Earth, possibly the last to escape. 3 months later, a fleet of 30 ships appeared at the edge of the Nova Terra system. They were battered, some barely functioning, but they had made 7,000 humans from Earth had escaped just before the Council closed the net completely. Among the refugees was an old woman with white hair and sharp eyes. Olivia recognized her immediately from the historical records. "Dr. Susan Clark," she said, extending her hand. "Your FTL drive design is what made all of this possible." Susan looked around the welcoming area, taking in the sight of humans working alongside various alien species. "When I designed that drive, I hoped we'd find a new home. I never imagined we'd build a new society." "We've done more than that," Olivia said proudly. "We've created something the Council never could, a true alliance of different species working as equals." Later that week, representatives from all 27 Fringe Alliance worlds gathered for a historic ceremony. On a stage built in Nova Terra's central plaza, Olivia stood with leaders from the Nirathi, Karathi, Lumen, and 3 other species that had joined their alliance. "Today we declare that the Fringe Alliance is no longer just a mutual defense pact," Olivia announced to the cheering crowd. "Today, we become the Stellar Commonwealth, a union of free peoples who believe that diversity is strength, that innovation should be celebrated, not feared, and that every species has the right to forge its own destiny." As the new Commonwealth flag was raised, a field of stars surrounding a 7-pointed emblem representing the founding species, Olivia thought about how far they had come. Banished and abandoned, humanity had not only survived but thrived, and in doing so, they had created something entirely new in the galaxy. The exile that was meant to be their end had become just the beginning. 50 years had passed since humanity's banishment from the Galactic Council. The Stellar Commonwealth now spanned over 100 worlds, with humans and 6 other species living and working together in harmony. Lucy Reeves wiped sweat from her forehead as she carefully brushed dirt from a stone tablet. The air in the ruins was hot and dusty, but she barely noticed. At 32, Lucy was one of the Commonwealth's most respected archaeologists, specializing in ancient civilizations. "Found something interesting?" asked Miko, her Lumen assistant. The silicon-based alien glowed softly in the dim light, providing natural illumination that was perfect for their work. "Very," Lucy said, her eyes fixed on the symbols etched into the stone. This tablet mentions the architects again, and look at this image. She pointed to a carving that showed tall, slender beings surrounded by various other species, all smaller. The architects were real, she whispered. Not just legends. For the past 3 years, Lucy had been exploring ruins on distant worlds, following clues about a mysterious species called the architects. According to fragments they had found, this species had ruled the galaxy long before the current council formed. The dates match our other findings, Lucy said, as she scanned the tablet with her device. The architects vanished about 15,000 years ago, right before the rise of the Vexari and the other council species. Miko's glow pulsed with excitement. What happened to them? Lucy carefully moved her scanner down the tablet. According to this, there was a rebellion. The architects tried to restrict the development of younger species, especially their expansion into space. The younger species united against them. Her scanner beeped as it finished translating. Lucy read the results and gasped. Miko, this says, the Vexari led the rebellion against the architects. Then after the architects fell, the Vexari and their allies formed the first version of the council. But the council does exactly what the architects did, Miko said, his light dimming in confusion. They restrict development and expansion. Lucy nodded. They became what they once fought against, and I bet they've been hiding this history all along. Back at the Commonwealth Central University on Nova Terra, Lucy presented her findings to a packed auditorium. Representatives from all Commonwealth species were present, along with several members of the governing council. The evidence is clear, Lucy said, showing images of ruins from 7 different worlds. The architects were an advanced species that ruled the galaxy 15,000 years ago. They believed younger species needed guidance and control, so they created strict rules about technology and expansion. She changed the display to show the translation of the tablet she had found. The Vexari, who were relatively young at the time, led a rebellion against the architects. Along with several other species, they overthrew the architects and established their own rule. An older man in the front row raised his hand. Dr. Reeves, are you suggesting the council is knowingly repeating history? Lucy recognized him as Dr. Peter Walsh, one of the original colonists who had escaped Earth on the Defiance. I believe they've deliberately suppressed this history, Lucy answered. The council claims their restrictions are for the good of all species. But these ruins tell a different story. The architects made the same claim, and the Vexari fought for their freedom. Now the Vexari have become the new architects. The room buzzed with conversation. Lucy continued, showing more evidence from various sites. Most importantly, these findings suggest the architects didn't just disappear. They were defeated by younger, more adaptable species working together, species that refused to accept limitations on their potential. After her presentation, Lucy was approached by Nathan Ford, the current Commonwealth president. Dr. Reeves, your discoveries could change everything, he said. If the council has been hiding this history, it might explain why they're so afraid of us. Not just us, Lucy replied. Any species that shows too much independence or develops too quickly. Nathan nodded thoughtfully. We've received some interesting communications recently. There's growing unrest within the council. Several member species have been questioning the old policies, especially after seeing the Commonwealth's success. The council is fracturing? Lucy asked in surprise. We've been contacted by a moderate council member named Zeth of the Tellarites. He wants to arrange a secret meeting. Your findings could be vital for that discussion. 2 weeks later, Lucy found herself aboard a diplomatic vessel heading toward neutral space. The Commonwealth had agreed to meet with representatives from several council species who were questioning the traditional policies. The meeting took place on an abandoned space station in a system far from both Commonwealth and council space. Lucy felt nervous as she walked into the conference room alongside President Nathan and other Commonwealth officials. Across the table sat 5 aliens representing different council species. At their center was Zeth, a tall Tellarite with golden scales and 4 arms. Unlike the stern Vexari, the Tellarites were known for their curiosity and adaptability. Thank you for coming, Zeth said. What we're doing would be considered treason by the Vexari-led council majority, but many of us believe the old ways are failing. Nathan nodded. We appreciate your courage. We've brought someone who has information you might find interesting. Lucy stepped forward and presented her findings about the architects. As she spoke, she watched the council members' reactions. Some seemed shocked, others nodded as if confirming suspicions they already had. "The Vexari have kept this from us," said one alien with feathered wings. "All this time they've preached about stability and control, while hiding their own revolutionary past." "They fear another rebellion," Zeth said. "That's why they've been so harsh with species like humans, who remind them of themselves from long ago." The discussion continued for hours. Lucy realized that the Commonwealth had allies they never knew existed within the Council itself. "The Council is changing," Zeth told them as the meeting concluded. "The success of your Commonwealth has not gone unnoticed. Many younger Council species ask why we cannot achieve similar cooperation without giving up our independence." Nathan looked at the assembled aliens. "Perhaps it's time for both our civilizations to learn from history instead of repeating it." As Lucy walked back to their ship, she felt a weight lift from her shoulders. For 50 years, humans had believed they were alone against a united council. Now they knew the truth was more complicated. The architects had fallen when they tried to control the natural development of younger species. The Vexari-led council was now facing the same challenge. And humanity, once banished and left to die, had inadvertently created a model for a different kind of galactic society. "History doesn't repeat," Lucy murmured to herself as their ship prepared to jump back to Commonwealth space. "But sometimes it rhymes." 100 years had passed since humanity's banishment. What began as a desperate escape from imprisonment had grown into the Stellar Commonwealth, a thriving alliance of species that spanned nearly 1,000 worlds. William Boyd stood on the bridge of the flagship Guardian, looking out at the vast fleet assembled before him. At 45, William had risen to become Admiral of the Commonwealth Navy. His great-grandfather had been one of the original escapees on the Defiance, and William had grown up hearing stories of Earth, a planet he had never seen. "Fleet status?" William asked his executive officer. "All ships report ready, Admiral," she replied. 200 Commonwealth vessels plus 58 from our Council allies. William nodded. The last 30 years had seen dramatic changes in the galaxy. The Council had split into two factions, the traditionalists led by the Vexari, and the reformers who sought alliance with the Commonwealth. Civil war had erupted as more species left the Council to join the Commonwealth or declare independence. Message. From President Chen, the communications officer announced. "The Vexari fleet has been detected leaving Council space. Long-range scans confirm they're heading for Earth." William's jaw tightened. Intelligence reports had warned this might happen. The Vexari, losing their grip on the Council, had decided to make an example of humanity's homeworld, to show what happened to those who defied them. "Set course for the Sol system," William ordered. "Maximum speed. Alert all ships to prepare for combat upon arrival." The Commonwealth fleet jumped to FTL, racing to reach Earth before the Vexari. William spent the journey studying tactical displays and coordinating with their Council allies. "The Vexari don't know about our alliance with the Council reformers," said Captain Alara, a Tellarite officer serving as liaison. "They'll be expecting only Commonwealth resistance." "Let's hope that gives us the edge we need," William replied. "Our latest intelligence suggests they've assembled nearly 300 ships." 3 days later, the Commonwealth fleet arrived. At the edge of the Sol system, the Vexari had beaten them by hours and were already approaching Earth. "Open a channel to all Commonwealth and Allied ships," William said, standing tall in the center of the bridge. "This is Admiral Boyd. 100 years ago, humanity was banished from the galactic community, told we were too dangerous to join the stars. Today we return to defend our homeworld, not just as humans, but as members of the greatest alliance the galaxy has ever known. The Commonwealth stands for freedom, cooperation, and progress, everything the Vexari fear. Today we show them that their fear was justified, not because we seek destruction, but because we represent a better way forward. All ships, battle formation Delta, engage the enemy." The Commonwealth fleet surged forward, spreading into a three-dimensional attack formation that would have been impossible for a single species to coordinate. Ships designed by different species, crewed by mixed teams, moved with perfect synchronization. The Vexari fleet, already in orbit around Earth, turned to meet them. The space between the fleets lit up with energy weapons and missile trails. "They're targeting our command ships," reported the tactical officer as the Guardian shook from a near miss. "As expected," William said calmly. "Implement Hydra protocol. Across the Commonwealth fleet, command functions automatically redistributed. Instead of disabling the fleet by targeting a few key vessels, the Vexari found themselves facing an opponent that adapted with each loss. The battle raged for hours. Commonwealth ships used technologies that had evolved differently from Council. Standards, weapons, and defenses the Vexari weren't prepared for. But the Vexari had numbers and the advantage of position around Earth. "Admiral, we're taking heavy losses in Sector 4, reported the tactical officer. "The Vexari have broken through our line." William studied the display, then made a decision. Direct the Lumen vessels to Sector 4. Their phase shift technology should surprise the Vexari, and prepare a special package for delivery. An hour later, with both fleets badly damaged, William executed his final plan. A small group of fast, stealthy ships broke away from the main battle, each towing a captured asteroid. "Gravity manipulators at full power," William ordered. "Bring those rocks in fast and hot." The Commonwealth had developed gravity technology far beyond what the Council possessed. Now they used it to turn simple space rocks into devastating weapons, accelerating them toward the heart of the Vexari formation. The Vexari, their sensors focused on energy weapons and conventional threats, didn't detect the asteroids until too late. Their tight formation, once an advantage, became a liability as the massive rocks tore through their fleet, destroying dozens of ships and disrupting their coordination. "Now," William commanded. "All ships, full advance." The Commonwealth fleet, joined by their Council allies, pushed forward. The Vexari, their formation broken and their flagship destroyed, began to retreat. 3 hours later, the last Vexari ship jumped away from the Sol system. The battle was over. Earth was safe. William looked out at the blue planet below. His ancestors' home. Millions of lights shone on its night side, evidence that humanity had not only survived under quarantine, but had continued to develop. "Open communications with Earth," he said softly. A woman's face appeared on screen, her expression a mixture of awe and gratitude. "This is President Rivera of the Earth Union. On behalf of all humanity, thank you for coming to our defense. We never expected to see our children return from the stars." William smiled. "We never forgot where we came from, Madam President. And now, if you're willing, we'd like to bring Earth into the Commonwealth." 1 month later, representatives from all Commonwealth worlds and Council reformer species gathered in Geneva, Earth's traditional center for international diplomacy. For the first time in a century, humans who had left, and those who had stayed, came together. In a grand ceremony broadcast across 1,000 worlds, Earth officially joined the stellar Commonwealth. The quarantine was lifted. Ships from across the galaxy landed on Earth, bringing visitors from dozens of species that humans had once feared they would never meet. William stood at the window of the historic building where the new Galactic Charter was being drafted. Below, in the streets of Geneva, humans mingled with aliens of all descriptions. Former enemies, now allies. Strangers, now friends. An elderly Tellarite approached him. "Admiral Boyd, I am Zeth. I believe you know of me." William nodded. Zeth had been the first council member to reach out to the Commonwealth decades ago. "The Vexari made the same mistake the architects made long ago," Zeth said. "They believed control brings stability. But your Commonwealth has proven that freedom and cooperation create something stronger than any empire built on fear." William watched as a group of children, human, Nairathi, Tellarite, and others, played together in a nearby park. "We didn't set out to build an empire," William said. "We just wanted to survive. But in finding our own path, we created something better than what we left behind." Zeth nodded. From exiles to exemplars, the Council banished humanity, thinking to contain you. Instead, they released you to reshape the galaxy. As the sun set over Geneva, William thought of all the generations that had led to this moment, from John Mercer, who first faced the Council, to Susan Clark, who gave humanity the stars, to Lucy Reeves, who uncovered the truth of history. 100 years of struggle had led to this new beginning. The banishment that was meant to be humanity's end had become the galaxy's salvation.